John Milton's Paradise Lost, first published in 1667, is one of the most significant works of English literature, notable for its ambitious scope, intricate themes, and profound theological and philosophical explorations. Spanning 12 books, the epic poem reimagines the biblical story of the fall of man, focusing on the temptation of Adam and Eve by Satan and their subsequent expulsion from the Garden of Eden. Milton's work stands as a complex, multi-layered narrative that grapples with issues of free will, obedience, rebellion, the nature of evil, and the potential for redemption. Paradise Lost is written in blank verse, unrhymed iambic pentameter, which gives the poem a dignified and solemn tone befitting its epic scope. The decision to use blank verse allows Milton the flexibility to explore complex syntactical structures and a wide range of rhetorical techniques, enhancing the poem's intellectual depth and emotional power. Milton's mastery of language is evident in his use of elevated diction, classical and biblical allusions, and intricate metaphors, all of which contribute to the poem's rich layered meaning. The poem begins in medias res, a technique borrowed from classical epics like Homer's Iliad and Virgil's Aeneid. By starting the narrative after Satan's rebellion and the fall of the rebel angels, Milton plunges the reader directly into the aftermath of a cosmic conflict. This approach allows Milton to unfold the backstory of the rebellion through flashbacks and dialogues, while the central narrative focuses on Satan's plot to corrupt humanity and the tragic consequences of Adam and Eve's disobedience. Milton also adheres to other epic conventions, such as the invocation of the muse, grand battles, and the depiction of a hero's journey. However, he subverts these conventions in significant ways, particularly in his portrayal of Satan. Unlike the traditional epic hero, Satan is a morally ambiguous character who embodies both admirable and reprehensible qualities, making him one of the most compelling figures in literature. Satan is arguably the most complex and intriguing character in Paradise Lost. Milton presents him as a tragic figure who, despite his fall from grace, retains a sense of grandeur and defiance. In the early books, Satan's speeches are filled with rhetorical brilliance and a determined spirit. His famous declaration, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven," Book 1, line 263, captures his unyielding pride and his refusal to submit to divine authority. This line, along with his other speeches, has led many readers and critics to view Satan as a heroic figure, one who embodies the spirit of rebellion and individualism. However, as the poem progresses, Milton gradually reveals the moral and psychological decline of Satan. His initial resolve gives way to a growing sense of despair and self-loathing. By the time Satan succeeds in corrupting Adam and Eve, he is a shadow of his former self, consumed by envy and malice. His transformation into the serpent in Book 10 is symbolic of his complete degradation, as he's reduced to crawling on his belly, stripped of the grandeur he once possessed. Milton's portrayal of Satan has been the subject of much critical debate. Romantic poets like William Blake and Percy Bysshe Shelley famously interpreted Satan as a symbol of resistance against tyranny, seeing him as a figure of noble defiance. Blake even suggested that Milton was of the devil's party without knowing it, implying that Milton sympathized with his creation. However, this view overlooks the broader context of the poem, in which Satan's rebellion is ultimately shown to be self-destructive and futile. Milton's Satan is not a simple villain, but a complex character whose tragic flaws lead to his downfall, reflecting the consequences of rebellion against divine order. He is deeply rooted in the theological and philosophical debates of Milton's time, particularly the tension between free will and predestination. As a devout Protestant, Milton was engaged with the ideas of the Reformation, which emphasized the importance of individual conscience and the belief that salvation could not be earned through good works alone, but was a gift of divine grace. In God is portrayed as omniscient, foreseeing all events before they happen, yet he does not interfere with the free will of his creations. This is evident in God's discussions with the Son, where he acknowledges that Adam and Eve will fall, but asserts that they must do so of their own free will. God emphasizes that he created humans with the capacity for reason and choice, and that true obedience must come from a voluntary act of love and devotion rather than coercion. Milton's treatment of free will is closely linked to his exploration of obedience and rebellion. The angels who remain loyal to God, such as Michael and Gabriel, do so out of their own free will, exercising their autonomy in the service of divine order. In contrast, Satan and his followers use their free will to rebel, leading to their expulsion from heaven and their eventual transformation into demons. Similarly, Adam and Eve are created with the capacity for obedience, but they choose to disobey God's command, leading to their fall from grace. Milton's emphasis on free will reflects his belief in the importance of individual responsibility and the moral consequences of one's actions. The poem suggests that while God's omniscience allows him to foresee the fall, it does not negate the responsibility of Adam and Eve for their choices. This idea is further reinforced by the portrayal of the Son, who offers himself as a sacrifice to redeem humanity, demonstrating the possibility of redemption through divine grace. Milton's exploration of the human condition is central to. The poem offers a profound meditation on the nature of sin, the consequences of disobedience, and the potential for redemption. Through the characters of Adam and Eve, Milton examines the complexities of human nature, depicting them as inherently good but susceptible to temptation and moral weakness. In the early books, Adam and Eve are presented as the ideal couple, living in harmony with each other and with nature in the Garden of Eden. Their love is pure, and they enjoy direct communion with God, who walks with them in the garden. However, this idyllic state is fragile, and the introduction of temptation reveals the inherent vulnerability of human nature. Eve's decision to eat the forbidden fruit is driven by a combination of curiosity, pride, and a desire for knowledge. Her encounter with the serpent, who flatters her and appeals to her vanity, highlights the subtlety of Satan's temptation. Eve's inner turmoil as she contemplates the consequences of her actions reflects the complexity of human motivations as she rationalizes her disobedience by convincing herself that the fruit will elevate her to a higher state of being. Adam, in turn, chooses to follow Eve out of love, knowing that it will lead to their downfall. His decision is portrayed as an act of self-sacrifice, as he cannot bear the thought of being separated from her. However, this act of love is also a form of disobedience, as it places his relationship with Eve above his duty to God. Milton thus presents the fall as a deeply human response to temptation, rooted in emotions and desires that are both noble and flawed. The consequences of the fall are severe, as Adam and Eve are expelled from Eden and subjected to the hardships of mortal life. However, Milton emphasizes that the fall also paves the way for the greater good of human salvation. The final books of the poem, in which the archangel Michael reveals the future to Adam, offer a vision of redemption through Christ, who will ultimately restore humanity to its original state of grace. Milton's treatment of sin and redemption reflects his belief in the possibility of grace and the transformative power of divine love. While the fall brings sin and death into the world, it also allows for the possibility of redemption through Christ's sacrifice. This duality is central to the Christian understanding of the fall, which sees it not as a purely negative event, but as a necessary step in the unfolding of God's plan for humanity. Milton's portrayal of gender roles has been a subject of considerable debate, particularly in relation to the character of Eve and her role in the fall. The poem reflects the patriarchal norms of the 17th century, where women were often seen as subordinate to men. However, Milton's depiction of Eve is more complex than a simple reinforcement of these norms. Eve is portrayed as intelligent, curious, and independent-minded, qualities that are both celebrated and problematized in the poem. Her desire for knowledge and her willingness to engage with the serpent reflect a sense of autonomy and agency. However, these same qualities also lead to her downfall, as her curiosity and pride make her more susceptible to Satan's manipulation. Milton presents Eve's relationship with Adam as one of both love and hierarchy. Adam is depicted as the rational, authoritative figure, while Eve is associated with emotion and sensuality. This dynamic is evident in their interactions, where Adam often assumes a paternalistic role, advising and guiding Eve. However, Milton also portrays their relationship as one of mutual affection and interdependence. Adam's love for Eve is sincere, and his decision to eat the forbidden fruit is motivated by his deep attachment to her. The fall complicates their relationship as it introduces shame, guilt, and blame into their interactions. After the fall, Adam initially reproaches Eve for her disobedience, accusing her of causing their downfall. Eve, in turn, expresses remorse and seeks forgiveness, highlighting the emotional and psychological toll of their disobedience. Despite the patriarchal framework within which Milton writes, Eve's character is complex, and her role in the narrative invites deeper analysis. While Milton does portray her as the one who first succumbs to temptation, leading to the fall, he also gives her significant agency. Her interaction with the serpent and her decision to eat the forbidden fruit demonstrate her capacity for independent thought, even though this independence leads to a tragic outcome. Milton's portrayal of Eve can be interpreted in various ways. Some critics argue that Milton upholds the traditional view of women as more prone to sin, given Eve's role in the fall. However, others suggest that Milton's depiction of Eve also contains elements of sympathy and understanding. Her fallibility is portrayed as a human characteristic, not specifically a female one, and Adam's subsequent decision to join her in disobedience suggests that both men and women share the burden of guilt and the consequences of the fall. Moreover, after the fall, both Adam and Eve undergo a journey of repentance and self-realization. In their dialogues, particularly in books 9 and 10, Milton explores the dynamics of guilt, responsibility, and reconciliation. Adam and Eve's eventual reconciliation and their joint acceptance of their punishment emphasize the themes of forgiveness and mutual support. This process of reconciliation, where both characters take responsibility for their actions, highlights the complexities of their relationship beyond simple hierarchical structures. Milton's nuanced portrayal of Eve has been the subject of feminist readings that see her as a figure of both empowerment and subjugation. These readings explore how Eve's quest for knowledge, her engagement with the idea of selfhood, and her emotional depth complicate the conventional gender dynamics of the time. The concept of heroism is multifaceted and challenges traditional epic conventions. Unlike classical epics, where the hero is often defined by physical prowess and martial valor, Milton's heroes are defined by their moral and spiritual qualities. Satan is introduced as a heroic figure in the traditional epic sense, with his leadership, bravery, and eloquence. His speeches in the early books are stirring and reflect a kind of tragic grandeur. However, Milton subverts this traditional heroism by showing how Satan's virtues are corrupted by his pride and ambition. His heroism is revealed to be deeply flawed, leading to his eventual moral and spiritual degradation. Satan's journey from the powerful, defiant archangel to a defeated and degraded being serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of misguided heroism. In contrast, Adam and Eve are portrayed as the true moral heroes of the poem. Their heroism is not found in grand deeds or battles, but in their capacity for repentance, humility, and endurance. After the fall, both characters engage in deep self-reflection and seek reconciliation with each other and with God. Their acceptance of their punishment and their willingness to face the hardships of life outside Eden with courage and faith exemplify a different kind of heroism, one based on moral integrity and spiritual resilience. The Son of God, who later becomes Jesus Christ, represents the ultimate model of heroism in the poem. His willingness to sacrifice himself for the redemption of humanity embodies the highest virtues of selflessness, love, and obedience to God. The Son's heroism contrasts sharply with Satan's, as it is rooted in humility and a desire to restore order and grace, rather than in pride and rebellion. Milton's redefinition of heroism reflects his Christian values and his belief in the moral superiority of spiritual over physical strength. The poem suggests that true heroism lies in the ability to overcome internal struggles, to act with virtue and humility, and to seek reconciliation and redemption. Nature and the Garden of Eden play crucial roles in symbolizing the state of perfection and harmony that existed before the fall. Milton's descriptions of Eden are lush and vivid, filled with imagery that evokes the beauty and abundance of untainted nature. The Garden of Eden is depicted as a place where all creatures live in harmony, where there is no death or decay, and where Adam and Eve enjoy an intimate relationship with the natural world. Eden represents not just physical paradise, but also a state of spiritual and moral purity. Adam and Eve's relationship with nature is one of stewardship and respect, reflecting their uncorrupted state. They are portrayed as caretakers of the garden, working in harmony with nature rather than exploiting it. This ideal relationship with the natural world is shattered by the fall, which introduces disorder, death, and suffering into creation. The fall is marked by a rupture in the relationship between humans and nature. And after Adam and Eve eat the forbidden fruit, the harmonious order of Eden is disrupted and they become aware of their own mortality and vulnerability. The natural world, once a source of joy and sustenance, becomes a place of toil and struggle. This shift is symbolic of the broader consequences of the fall, where the innocence and harmony of prelapsarian existence are replaced by the hardships and complexities of post-lapsarian life. Milton's depiction of nature also reflects his broader theological concerns. The natural world in its original state is a reflection of divine order and beauty. The corruption of nature following the fall is a consequence of human sin, but it is also part of the divine plan for redemption. The natural world, like humanity, is subject to the possibility of renewal and restoration through divine grace. God and the Son are central figures representing the principles of justice, mercy, and redemption. Milton's portrayal of God has been the subject of much debate, with some readers and critics viewing him as a distant, authoritarian figure, while others see him as a just and merciful ruler who allows his creations the freedom to choose their own paths. God's omniscience and omnipotence are central to the poem. He foresees the fall of man and the rebellion of Satan, but he allows these events to unfold according to the principle of free will. God's justice is portrayed as absolute, but it is tempered by his mercy. While Adam and Eve are punished for their disobedience, they are also offered the hope of redemption through the sacrifice of the Son. The Son, who later becomes incarnate as Jesus Christ, is depicted as the mediator between God and humanity. His willingness to offer himself as a sacrifice for the sins of humanity is the ultimate act of love and selflessness. Through the Son's sacrifice, Milton emphasizes the possibility of redemption and the hope for a restored relationship between humanity and God. Milton's depiction of God and the Son reflects his own religious beliefs, particularly his understanding of the balance between justice and mercy. The poem suggests that while divine justice requires the punishment of sin, divine mercy offers the possibility of forgiveness and salvation. This duality is central to the Christian understanding of the fall and the promise of redemption. The fall of man is the central event of, and Milton's portrayal of this event raises profound theological and philosophical questions. The fall is presented as both a tragic and a necessary event in the unfolding of God's plan for humanity. Milton depicts the fall as a result of human free will. Adam and Eve are not predestined to sin. They choose to disobey God's command of their own accord. This act of disobedience introduces sin and death into the world, but it also sets the stage for the possibility of redemption. The fall is thus both a moment of profound loss and the beginning of a journey towards salvation. The idea that the fall was a fortunate event, or is a theme that runs through Christian theology and is subtly present in The concept of suggests that the fall, though tragic, ultimately leads to greater goods such as the coming of Christ and the possibility of eternal salvation. In this sense, the fall is seen not just as a disaster, but as a necessary step in the divine plan for human redemption. Milton's exploration of the fall is deeply ambivalent. On one hand, the fall is a tragic event that results in the loss of innocence and the introduction of suffering into the world. On the other hand, it is through the fall that humanity gains knowledge of good and evil and the opportunity for redemption. The complexity of Milton's portrayal reflects his understanding of the human condition as a mixture of sin and grace, loss and hope. Is a work of extraordinary depth and complexity, offering a rich exploration of theological, philosophical and literary themes. Milton's epic has had a profound influence on Western literature and thought, shaping our understanding of concepts such as free will, justice, heroism, and the human condition. The poem's enduring legacy lies in its ability to engage readers across generations with its exploration of universal themes. Milton's portrayal of Satan, Adam, Eve, and the divine characters invites readers to reflect on the nature of good and evil, the consequences of disobedience, and the possibility of redemption. The poem's rich language, intricate structure, and profound insights make it a timeless work that continues to resonate with readers today. Milton offers not just a retelling of the biblical story of the fall, but a meditation on the complexities of human nature and the possibility of grace. The poem's exploration of the tension between free will and predestination, its nuanced portrayal of gender dynamics, and its redefinition of heroism all contribute to its status as one of the greatest works of English literature. Ultimately, it transcends its immediate religious and historical context to become a work of universal significance. Milton's epic delves into the fundamental questions of existence, exploring the nature of good and evil, the struggle between free will and divine providence, and the complexities of human emotions and relationships. Its portrayal of the tragic fall of humanity, coupled with the potential for redemption, resonates with readers from all backgrounds, offering a profound meditation on the human condition. Milton's ability to blend the personal with the universal is one of the reasons why has remained relevant for centuries. The personal struggles of Adam and Eve, their love, temptation, and eventual repentance are relatable aspects of the human experience. At the same time, Milton situates these personal stories within a cosmic framework, linking them to the grand themes of creation, rebellion, and salvation. This duality, where the intimate and the immense coexist, gives the poem a depth that invites continuous exploration and reinterpretation. Critically, has sparked endless debate and discussion, from the Romantic poets who saw in Satan a proto-rebel against tyranny, to modern scholars who examine its gender dynamics. Milton's work has been dissected from various angles, each offering new insights. Its influence extends beyond literature into theology, philosophy, and even political thought, with its themes of authority, obedience, and liberty remaining pertinent in various discourses. Moreover, has influenced countless works of art, literature, and music, from William Blake's illustrations to contemporary adaptations in novels and films. The epic's powerful imagery and complex characters continue to inspire artists and writers who find in Milton's work a rich source of inspiration and challenge. Milton's own beliefs and experiences are intricately woven into the fabric of his profound engagement with the political and religious upheavals of his time, his deep immersion in classical literature, and his personal struggles, including his blindness, all find expression in the poem. This personal dimension, combined with the epic's broader universal themes, creates a work that is both a product of its time and a timeless masterpiece. In conclusion, stands as a monumental achievement in English literature, a work that defies easy categorization and continues to captivate readers with its complexity, beauty, and depth. Milton's epic invites us to explore the most profound aspects of the human experience, challenging us to reflect on our own beliefs, values, and choices. As we navigate the intricacies we're reminded of the power of literature to illuminate the human soul and to connect us with the larger questions of existence through its exploration of sin, redemption, and the possibility of grace, offers not only a retelling of the biblical story, but also a profound meditation on the nature of humanity and the divine. Its legacy endures not just as a cornerstone of English literature, but as a work that continues to speak to the deepest concerns of the human spirit.